Hello, I'm Professor Shad Morris, Professor of International Business at Brigham Young University, and in this video we will discuss how to identify and mitigate political risk. Growing up, did you ever get in trouble with your parents? Political risk is kind of like the risk of upsetting your parents. No two sets of parents are going to handle problems in exactly the same way, just like no two countries will handle their complex economies in the same way. But most siblings will receive the same treatment from their parents in similar circumstances. Savvy children understand their parents' responses to various actions and behaviors, and a successful international business must also understand macro political risk, the adverse political conditions that affect all foreign countries and investments in each country it operates in. Just as parents have the ability to punish or correct their children, governments have tools that they can use to manipulate and control international business. Expropriation is the Mac Daddy of punishments. It is the seizure of assets as a result of political action. Did you ever do something that made your parents take away your ability to play video games for a week? Expropriation or nationalization is kind of like that, except instead of you losing your rights to your PlayStation, your dad takes your PlayStation to his room where he plays it and you never get it back. Either way, there's no form of recourse for you. You don't have a PlayStation anymore. Thanks, Dad. Your parents also probably didn't charge you room and board for growing up. Businesses, however, do pay for the privilege of operating in a country. That rent is called taxes. Any adjustments to the country tax rate will make it more or less desirable for countries to do business there. Although you didn't pay rent, your parents probably made you help out around the house doing chores. They may have even given you an allowance for it. This is similar to labor laws in a country like a minimum wage, or the banning of child labor, and the formation and protection of unions. Sadly, there probably isn't a union that will get you out of doing the dishes. We often think of these issues as problems experienced in developing or emerging markets, kind of like what you see with abusive or inexperienced parents. However, even the most experienced parents have their quirks. The USMCA, or United States-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, and the rise of nationalism has increased political risk for Mexican firms operating in the United States. The United Kingdom's messy breakup with the European Union increased political risk of British firms operating on the European continent. Changing macro-political conditions in every nation greatly affect the risks facing international business. In contrast to macro-political risk, micro-political risk is the possibility of adverse political actions that affect only a specific sector, firm, or a project. This would be like your parents limiting the amount of time you could play on a specific video game, as opposed to limiting your general screen time, or even limiting your screen time while letting your siblings have free range on their devices. Like we said, a smart kid understands their parents' style, rules, and culture. Of course, they have the benefit of living with them for 18 years to get used to it. But how can a business entering a new market gather enough data to safely navigate political risk in that country? The first step is to conduct an in-depth political risk analysis. This is typically done as part of a pest analysis. The pest analysis includes looking at all the previously mentioned factors and many more in the country of interest. You also need to look at the industry you're entering to assess any micro risk. If at this stage you realize that the political risk is too high, then you have to know how to move ahead with the project. A company can also look to mitigate problems through negotiation with the host country's government. This can create an avenue of recourse if the host nation decides to nationalize the company's operations. Be cautious at this stage, though. If a country experiences political upheaval, a new government may not honor the contracts of the old one. Negotiating contracts with a separate organization, such as an international court as the mediator, can help alleviate some of this risk, but this may not always be feasible or possible. A third management tactic is to purchase political risk insurance. Though insurance offers a degree of protection, as with any insurance plan, the more coverage you want, the more money you have to pay. And don't forget that certain conditions must be met for a valid claim, and some circumstances aren't covered at all. Ultimately, nothing can protect a company from every aspect of political risk. Just like your parents can get into moods, governments can be unpredictable. The more a company can identify and understand about the political risks associated with a given country, the more prepared they can be against political risk. And that can be the difference between being the favorite child and getting grounded again.